King Kabalega, God rest his soul in peace. I feel like one of the greatest black men to ever touch this earth.
Rules of engagement. And I talked about the last podcast. Mm-hmm. Black people can learn a lot from foreigners and our communities. And I'm talking about even in Black America. We got a lot of Indians on Arco AM/PM, 7-Eleven. And one of the things you'll notice about even Arabs and Indians. What's good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of the Repat Podcast. We are short-staffed. This is the Easter weekend sort of thing. So, you know, me and Tina are here to bless you with some knowledge.
We have no Easter plans.
Yeah, nobody like us. But go ahead, Tina. Let them know what's going on today.
What is going on today?
I mean, can they follow you on Instagram or anything?
They can follow me on Instagram if they're nice. It's
okay.
Tina Graham on Instagram.
Right. And, okay. At O'Shea Duke, don't follow me. African American. We in the building. So we have just kind of an off the wall topic today, which is I happened to be someplace and we'll play the footage in the background. You're going to see this particular Indian parade that Ugandan Indians perform during Easter. I've also been in Nairobi during the New Year's where they'll have the Kenyan Indians. They'll perform inside the Westgate Mall. Mm-hmm. But that wasn't something that was so important to me. Mm-hmm. What was important to me was there's a road that I'm familiar with. Mm-hmm. And that road is typically very messed up. And like in most African countries, main roads are taken care of by whatever the entity is. I think in this case, is it KCCA? Yeah. But now the roads that are going off into neighborhoods or communities that's what you guys got to do yourself. So they won't fund that.
They're supposed to, though.
Okay. But I know it's the same case in a lot of places in Africa. It's like that.
Yeah. Even just in Kampala, it's the case. Like right now with the rain, everywhere is trash.
Right. And that's another episode. So potholes everywhere. But anyways, so now I was walking down this road and I happened to be passing my road rather, and I saw these people. In fact, I put up this picture, said Uganda is holding me back, right? It was,
yes.
You saw that picture. Yeah. So I'm going to put up here, and that was these two mud holes, and these guys were digging. I didn't know what it was, but then somebody told me like, well, this must be the Indians doing this because the blacks won't do this. I was like, what? So anyways, we came back within 2 days and the road was completely fixed. Not to the level of the States, but it was completely fixed and everything, right? Mm-hmm. Then what you're seeing in the background is this parade. Mm-hmm. So it connected the dots for me. Mm-hmm. This particular Indian community in Uganda, I don't know what their religion is, but they have like a temple somewhere down there. They fixed this road for their parade.
What if it was a coincidence?
I doubt that if it was a coincidence. They're the ones because they've done it before on that particular road, right? Mm-hmm. So then they didn't come to like, hey, as a community, you have local judges that live here. They didn't do that.
To let you know what they're going to do like you would anywhere else. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They said, we're going to have our parade. We don't want our people on the parade in a situation where they can't participate. But we love our people so much, we're going to fix this road. We don't even care if it helps them or hurts them or whatever. But our people, on the day of the day of the parade, that road got to be fixed. So now, today's topic is, why do people like that, in your opinion, rule, and I will say, and I'm not saying for, you know, in all instances or intents and purposes that they rule everything in this country or in Kenya and Tanzania, but I do see them a lot. But they are up there in the economy. They do run a lot of business, a lot of infrastructure in almost every industry. Why is it that Indian Asians are so successful in East Africa and Africa as general?
Okay. First point, the road, maybe not a coincidence. They probably did fix it. But if I'm not mistaken, I also passed on this road today. It was not fixed. So they did a temporary fix.
Yes.
Which happens in most places, right? I think like the roads in Uganda in general, there's a lot of cost cutting. So the cheapest possible. They usually use soil instead of, I don't know what that black thing is. That instead of using that, they use soil and that works. But considering we've had like rain for God knows how long, it messes it up all the time. So I don't think it's that they're the only ones that do that, because there are, you know, black pockets that fix the road for God knows what, but it's the same quick fix thing for your event and then move on.
Yeah.
But you said, why are they so successful here?
Yes.
Not to take away from the hard work and everything, because I understand there's an element of that. But if we are to go into like the historical element of everything, in East Africa in particular, I won't even speak about everywhere else because I don't know the particulars, but I know in Uganda, for example, there was basically when white people wanted to colonize Uganda, and my facts might not be 100% because I know there's people that love to check me in the comments for my facts, but
me too.
If you get the point, you get the point. But I think there's an element of, not even I think, it's a matter of fact. So when the British who colonized Uganda wanted to colonize Uganda, it was a divide and conquer thing, right? So essentially they divided our kingdoms and our empires into like small little pockets. When they did that, they realized, even though they did have a Ugandan tribe, no names, you know yourselves, they did have a pocket that was willing to help them with the taking over of us, with the promise of them being the sort of economic hub and they would get to quote unquote run things, right? But then at one point, some white man was like, but if we leave these niggas to run themselves, what stops them from taking us out? Right? Okay. So essentially they were like, we need somebody who is still under us, but still above them to come and sort of administrate what we are implementing. Right? So with the colonization and the running of Uganda, it was the British. They then brought the Asians, South Asians, right? Typically the Indians and some Pakistanis, right, to Uganda at that time. And they came and, of course, they were also oppressed, just like us. They were brought in originally to do the railways, I think. But in doing that, they were given positions of administration. And the results of those things are still, the effects, are still seen today, right? So, for example, when the British were trying to colonize Uganda, the Bunyoro Katara Empire, which at that point was being run by Kabalega, King Kabalega, God rest his soul in peace. I feel like one of the greatest black men to ever touch this earth. I think there needs to be a movie made about him because, to summarize it, basically when the British tried to colonize here, right, Bunyoro was like, nope, we're not playing with that. In that essence, Buganda, and not of any fault of their own, they were also manipulated by the British, but they then worked with the British to then topple the Bunyoro Katara Empire, right? So then they seized, They basically ambushed Bunyoro territory and so on and so forth. But when they did that, the results for that are still seen today, in that when you go to Bunyoro, right now, the kingdom itself is still suffering, right? So to come from being not just the strongest empire in Uganda, but in East Africa, I think it was Katara at that point, the empire, they were doing iron welding, the only in Africa. Like East Africa was running that industry, right? And then to go on with time, we then split up into different things. And then just before the British came, the Buganda split off, and then we had our tribal things, right, which happened.
So Buganda was a part of Bunyoro?
It was. Buganda, Buchiga, Butoro, like essentially the entire western region of Uganda and central was one empire.
Oh, wow.
pre-colonialism and imperialism, right? So when they came, because we know that different things were used in different places, and I can't speak on North, East and South Africa, but I know, Northwest and South Africa, but I know that in East Africa, the thing was divide and conquer. So it was divide us into, because as much as we were operating as one, right? So, sorry if I'm being long-winded, but basically the history is in Uganda itself, there wasn't a Uganda pre-colonialism, right? You had the Qatar Empire, and I'm sorry if I don't know about the others, because obviously I studied on what I am, so I know about that. But I know that you had the Nilotics and you had the other groups that were in themselves, right? But when they came and enforced the borders, we were then a group of random people who were just pushed together, right? But in that being pushed together, we were also then divided. As small as Uganda is, I think there's like 50-something tribes, or maybe even more. Maybe I'm wrong, but you know how tiny we are.
Yeah.
So for there to be that many little infrastructures, even when you hear the different languages, they all sound similar and the same. And it's just, you know, colonialism and all that. But what happened essentially is they brought in the Asians to administer over us. The Asians then came, but I wasn't going to mention them, but yes. So the Baganda, cannot remember your king's name, I'm so sorry, but he worked with the British that were colonizing. They then tried to topple Kabalega. Kabalega then, I don't know if you know, so when the British came, they had guns, right? And we didn't fight with guns. Remember, that wasn't our thing. But when they came to Bunyoro and fought them with their guns, do you know what our king did?
What?
He replicated the guns.
Wow.
Like he said, Uno, reverse. Like he then replicated the guns and he fought for months and months and months. So he was essentially thrown into exile, right? I think at that point then the Buganda king understood what was happening. He understood he was a pawn in all of that. And he then came with the Bunyoro king and they tried to fight back, and then they sort of exiled the both of them. And then whoever took on from him. But the results of that are still seen today, in that the economic hub of Uganda is Buganda, Kampala. It wouldn't have been the central city had history just done its thing, right? But when white people came and enforced their things, they made Buganda that hub. But once Buganda was that hub, they're like, they might switch up on us, which they did do during the sort of trying to take over and everything. So that's when they brought the Asians in. Because I think I did get lost on the point, but
I get it.
They brought
now.
the Asians in, right? Because they're like, they don't belong here. So they don't have a stake in it. Do you see what I mean? And essentially you're giving them some sort of superiority over these people. So those effects are still being seen. When you go to Bunyoro, the kingdom right now is a mess. And it's still a result of that. When you come to Buganda, it's the hub, but there's still an element of, even in their hub, there's still Asian superiority.
Right.
You know? So when we talk about them being better, I don't think that's the case. Not to say they're worse, not to say anything, but I just mean like, as a matter of fact.
I never said they were better, by the way.
Yeah, no, I know. But I mean, some people think that.
Okay,
so a lot of people, even Ugandans themselves, like I know people that hire management for their businesses that say, I'm only going to hire an Asian because they know what they're doing.
Oh, I've heard that about that. And Kenyans also.
Of course, because it was a similar sort of tactic. East Africa in general was a similar sort of tactic. So it's like, no. No one's better. It's just, again, colonialism. And
let me just say this. I had, this is the second time I wanted to do the podcast, but your points are so well put out there. It's indefensible. And it has literally changed my position of the topic. Yeah, because I know, and some of the African Americans at that time might disagree. Shout out to some of the brothers in the, this is another brother that is really, he's a historian on this. Brother from upstate New York. He's on YouTube on the Dynasty Samir channel. He's been on this channel before too. But I'm gonna suggest something different. The same thing that happened in Liberia when America had the Liberian colony, or was, putting us as African Americans or Afro-Caribbeans into the Americo-Liberian or Congo people in charge of the locals. So that's the very same thing And we held that position up until 1990 with the death of the late, great William Tolbert, which he was just disemboweled and Samuel Doe took over. So I cannot deny that. But I will say and add to this, in Brother Omawale Africa, Philadelphia, he told me one thing is that a lot of times as Black people, we have what is called racial amnesia. And racial amnesia in his assessment is in the main argument is forgetting who you are and forgetting who your people are.
Yeah.
Now, I want to just regress just 2 generations before myself in the African American community. And now, obviously we had sellouts then, and my grandmother, who's almost 90, I would consider her to be, a person that is definitely like not like me. Mm-hmm. But I can remember how Blacks operated a lot of them were dying in the 80s and 90s. So I got the chance to see that. Mm-hmm. And just the way that they would greet each other, the way that, I hear stories, people would leave their door open. Somebody got pregnant. It was it was a no-go. They send you down south to Mississippi someplace. You had an assessment of who you were. And when I look at a lot of the Indians, and I interact with some of their businesses here, because if you want to do certain things, you have no choice but to interact with some of their business here.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. So if I could go to the things that I want that were owned by Ugandans, I would go there. But it is sometimes very difficult.
Sometimes it's owned by Ugandans, but still managed by,
Yeah, there's a big restaurant chain here that's owned by, I believe, I won't call his name, but it's Indian management. Now I want to talk to that point. What I noticed about Indians are a lot of businesses that are ran by them here. Their management is all of them. Mm-hmm. All of them. Mm-hmm. Yet you have Africans that go to those countries and you will never manage nothing there. Mm-hmm. They all the time, and I'm noticing this, there's one guy I'm quite cordial with. I won't say he's a friend, but he's a great manager of a restaurant that I frequent. Mm-hmm. He's a smart guy. He's from, the city was called Bombay before. Is it Mumbai now? Mumbai.
Maybe.
Yeah. Very, very talented guy. We interviewed his restaurant here on this channel before. The guy tells me, very bright guy. He's probably one of the best managers that I know. He gives me tips on how to manage my stuff, right? He's just that smart. He says, the family that's a Ugandan, Indian owned. They own like 30 restaurants here. He says, they bring me from where? From India. So even though they've been in Africa and Uganda, and they speak Luganda, people are bringing the culture all the time. Fresh. So they've been here, let's say again, from the 80s, because, Museveni came in 86 and they came back. That's how you get Sudir Rupiello. And a lot of these people who are doing very well here. Mm-hmm. So, but they don't forget who they are, although they're here.
Mm-hmm. I respect that.
They still know who they are. Indians are here all the time, and I'm talking about they're Ugandan Indians. Their cultures may be a little bit different, but for the most part, they're always reminded of who they are, and they're bringing people. Even there, I have a hospital here. I forgot what the name of the hospital is at.
IHK. It's now Asian run.
There's another hospital here.
Hospital. Which one?
But they bring their doctors here all the time. I went and got it. I lost my yellow fever card shot. Card going to Nigeria. I had to go there and get a yellow fever. You guys comment below. But I get text messages from them. They bring all their best specialists. And Indians are healthcare. They're very good, even in the States. Indians don't have the same racial amnesia that we do. And I would suspect, this is something that I want to say, and not to be tribalistic. Mm-hmm. But if African Americans were to be, I'm just using them as an example, coming to Uganda and setting up a life here, will we still identify and bring, I think that is probably true, but will we still remember who we were?
Before that. Yes.
I see evidence of that in Ghana right now. So it seems to be true because it's new. But I don't know after generation after generation. But when I see the Ugandans and I go to the restaurants and I see that guy could be the manager and he's not, or she could be a part owner and she's not, And it lets me to believe that somehow they feel that these people are more talented or more brighter than them. Not everybody. But and somehow I can feel like because of what you've positioned, our brothers and sisters here have lost their way. And they forgot who they are. And they lost that confidence of Kabalaga, as you say. Yeah.
Because again, it's a generational thing, right? So if for generations, a certain demographic of people have been held as superior to you, right? So then your parents also tell you that these people are superior to you. So when I say I've heard people saying, I'm hiring an Indian manager, I'm talking about people that are very close to me and of like maybe just the upper generation to me. And like, I'm someone who's grown up. So when I say this thing about Asians, it's not from a hate, not from anything of that. I've grown up in a thing where like I have many Asian aunties and uncles. Like my dad works in immigration. Like I have very many my dad's business partners are Asian. Like I know these people on a personal level and I respect their hustle. And I'm not blaming
they're good.
them.
I'm going to be really good.
They are, right? To an extent, especially when it comes to bottom lining. Like, it is all about the bottom line with them. They are not spending even and
the customer service is more than excellent.
Is it though?
In comparisons to what you see here in general, from what I can tell.
Okay, in comparison. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Now, example, if you compare that to the customer service you get in the Western world, it's still crap.
Well, it's close enough to resemble. I will still be honest.
Maybe, but me personally, like for example, I was looking for a space, right? And I had to call, the biggest retail letting agency in Uganda is Asian. We love it for them. So I had to call them. I had to go through 5 different people to get the number I needed. Okay. You call the office, let me send you this. And it's like, guys.
Well, I've interacted only on a restaurant-based level.
Okay, yeah.
So I would
but now if you're trying to engage in actual, thing, even when you go to, this is going to sound like hate, but again, if you go to, for example, I'll give IHK as an example. It's the most unbiased example because it was a hospital that was, if we're now comparing it to whiteness, it was built by a white man, established by him.
The guy in Ireland.
I think so, yeah, the Irish guy. I can't remember his name, but IHK and Nyamuyanga.
Didn't he become a MP? Something like that?
Didn't. I don't think so.
Okay.
But he eventually sold it off. They sold it off and now it's a group. It's part of a hospital group thing, but it's Asian owned, right?
Yes.
The IHK of those days is not the IHK of now.
It's worse.
It is terribly worse. Okay. There is no maintenance that goes into the building. Nothing has been fixed, I guarantee you, since they purchased it. Again, because they're bottom liners. Not all, but in terms of a business sense here in Uganda, it's about the bottom line. So positive in terms of if revenue, 100%. They know 100% how to generate revenue. But when it comes to maintaining quality of service, I won't generalize it, but typically in Uganda, things are not maintained and held on. And you can somewhat tell when you walk into an establishment and it's Ugandan run and Asian run. And yes, they might be making a lot of money, but it doesn't look how it used to look. It doesn't feel how it used to feel. And it depends on what you as a consumer are looking for. Yeah. But again, to say that one group is better, not necessarily. Yeah. And I understand thinking that because again, like I said, it's generational. They bring you up, even, I hate to throw my dad under the bus again. But, no, but I think it's the only way I can give the examples because again, like I said, a lot of his business associates are Asian. Yes. And we spent a lot of time in Ginger, which is heavily Asian community. And we grew up, I was in the UK, but when I would come home to Uganda, we were in Ginger. So that was my community and I respect the business hustle. But there was this thing of they're there. And obviously I was young then. I didn't know as much as I knew. Now I'm older. I have more access. And I'd be telling my dad, these guys don't know everything. And he's just no. They're good at business. They know what they're doing. And yes, they are. But if we were given the same sort of head start, we would also be good at business.
And let me just say this. As a person that is, let's say I am an African American, right? But you know me, I'm just one of those people who are literally a fearless individual. Like I just really don't care. I'm not really so much intimidated by, what I think that if you're in the business, it's not going to scare me that you're there.
Yeah.
I just think that you're not as good as me.
Should.
Could not be the truth, but it's just that's how I am.
You have to think like that.
So I'll show up to a place I don't even know, and I'm not afraid to be there at all. Most people are. For me, I'm not. I'm very uncomfortable. I'm very comfortable in situations that are uncomfortable. I've just something, a skill I've adapted, right? And I have noticed there's a difference between what I would consider on average local businesses here run by foreigners. And local business run here by Ugandans or even in certain cases the diaspora because they're here. And on average, I would say there seems to be a lot more better administration of things from the foreigners, but it's not so much better that where I feel like a person from Uganda cannot beat that. I don't think it's
your
that.
Question.
Yes.
What's your favorite high-end dining place in Uganda?
I would say high end. I mean, I don't really do the high end.
Like fine dining, because mine personally is, and this is no promo, I don't even know those people, but my two are the Hickory and Stonehaven.
I've never been there.
You should.
Yeah.
They are Ugandan run and the food is amazing.
Wait a minute. There's one that I liked, but it was the one that Sheila Gashuma used to have the thing at.
Olives?
No, it was where Chop Life was at. It was downtown by the Parliament.
Chop Life?
Is it called La
Peronis?
Yeah.
That was Ugandan owned.
Very
Ugandan
nice.
Run.
We have a video of them from here in this.
Ugandan owned and run.
We have a video on this channel about La Peronis. I love La Peronis. Love it. I said on average though.
But that's Ugandan owned and Ugandan run. Like for me, it's the Hickory Stonehaven, Ugandan owned, Ugandan run, right? When I think about what club, bar, in essence, maybe I'll say maybe Volts, but again, Eritrean run, still East Africa. I'll say it's even something like, I used to love Speak Apartments. Not one Power, but the other one, Kisament? No, sorry. The other one,
I like Speak Apartments.
Right?
A lot.
I used to frequent there, and I've gone there on many a times when the rooms are, rooms are not up to. I've
never had their
right.
Rooms.
Oh, right. Rooms are not up to standard. I can tell you that. Oh, can they sue me? They can't. You can sue me, but I ain't got nothing to give you. But it's okay. But yeah, I think like I've never been to a Speak establishment and eaten like amazing food. Do you see what I'm saying? So they understand the concept of running a place.
Yeah.
At a certain standard? I don't think so. And even that, I can't blame them because it's in the work ethic thing, right? They're not given the room to give you leisure. They have to meet a certain quota. So for them, it's a bottom line thing. But we can't say anyone does anything better. I think they're more opportuned.
Let me just say this. Let me cut you off. But as blacks, the main case is instead of thinking about the stigma behind whether it's positive or negative, what the stereotype that they can do things the right way. One of the things that keeps them going is the beliefs. Number one, like how Africans believe about them, and I think in most cases how they feel about Africans, which may not be so disclosed. But I just think that this is me as a foreigner looking in. I feel that on average, Africans respect and look up to this community. I cannot prove how they feel about that community, but I can suspect a certain.
It's not even a look up to because I think it depends on the African.
Yeah, I'm generalizing here, and this could be wrong.
No, I get it. I think with information now, some Africans will be the same as me, or they're like, yeah, they're doing it great, but we know better. But then there's also a bunch that,
but you lived abroad, right? You lived in London. I've lived in the States. So it's easy for us to have that eye. Yeah. Easy.
Because again, do you know what I saw on Twitter? I saw a lady, and I'm not going to quote her verbatim because I don't remember, but she said something about like a dissertation needs to be written about sort of East African, South Asians that have gone into politics in the UK, right? So when you look at the Prime Minister of the UK, when you look at our former, what's her name? Oh shit, where have the words gone? But the lady that was in charge of like Home Office and so on, right? She was East African. They tend to be East African. And the lady on Twitter was basically saying she needs to see something written up to explain the obsession with the oppression of minorities abroad for East African South Asians, right? So when I looked in the quote tweets, it was similar to what I was saying. It's a sense of superiority that was created amongst us and them to where they were given authority above us. And also we have to understand that they're also marginalized, right? So they're also trying to seek proximity to whiteness. So they will throw us under the bus to get to that.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? So there's a constant fight. And again, it's not about anyone being better than the other, but let's be honest. Like, that's why, you know what I loved about Black Lives Matter? Not the association, not the group, but I mean the movement in itself and the awakening of like so many people globally was that we finally realized that, yes, because I think in the UK there's this thing called BAME, right? Which is Black and minority ethnic, right? Which puts us in an umbrella. But there's a group of people that will say not BAME, but Black. And I'm part of that group of people because I think the BAME experience isn't the Black experience.
No.
You know, like what we go through. Yes, we go through some things that are parallel to other minorities, but like our plight is so much, I don't even want to say worse, but messed up.
Yeah.
You know? So I think for us to even think that we're playing at the same sort of game, it doesn't work like that. They're also not playing at the white game. They're also trying to pander to and get to the whiteness of it all, but we are too. But like, so white people are like here, not in reality, but in the scopes of like systematic oppression or whatever, right? White people are here. Asians are here. Biracial people are here. And then monoracial Black people are here. And then to take it even further, monoracial Black women are here.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? In the sense of it's not the same.
But here's what I want to do though. I've had a chance to look at some, this is the outsider view, an untrained eye. I look at how Indian communities, from what I can see in Uganda, how they run themselves. There are rules that they use to govern themselves.
Of course.
So they would not be who they are without, you just can't do anything and be in their community.
Of course not.
Yes, which is different from a lot of us. So that's what I want to get into the core of. It is what they do every day. Regardless if we could talk about their service, if their ability to you know, implement the business opportunities and things like that. Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
But I don't know one Indian, Ugandan single mom. There could be one, I don't know him. I can barely find. And I had one of my best friends when I went to medical school in Poland. I have one non-Black. I have about 3 or 4 non-Black people I'm very close to. One of them, I was calling her name. Her name was Grishma. She was a South Indian from Paris. Love her to death. She's got married. God bless her. I was mad because Grishma, you didn't invite me to your wedding. But I understand it though, because you was acting real brand new. But that's how y'all get when y'all get a man.
She didn't invite you because you were Black.
No, that ain't the case. She just didn't invite me because she was acting. You know how women are. Sometimes you just be brand new, whatever, right? But we was close. So we was really good friends. So her family, she didn't invite nobody from the class, to be real. Yeah. So her family, she ended up with a guy from India. He's in Norway. Okay. So what I noticed was there were certain rules for her to get a husband. She just couldn't date anybody.
And I respect that 100%.
When I look at how the rules of the fact that showed me something. Like, look, we're gonna have our parade. Like I've seen,
and it's ours.
I want to say something about Brother Taylor made dreams. He was living in Atlanta. He started seeing a pop up of Chinese restaurants, right? And on the outside would be a Chinese menu in writing on the wall. What are they saying when they say that? What are they trying to say?
come inside and ask for the translation?
We're not looking for you to support our people.
Oh, they know
our people will come and support us. So if you want to come here, you will come in and get a menu. But it's enough of us. And instantly, fuck the rest of you guys. We don't even want your business. If you really want to give it, we'll take it. But we're looking for who? Our people to support what we do. Mm-hmm. And when I saw them do that to that road, it got me a level of respect because they have rules of engagement. And I talked about the last podcast. Mm-hmm. Black people can learn a lot from foreigners and our communities. And I'm talking about even in Black America. We got a lot of Indians on our own, Arco AMPM, 7-Eleven. And one of the things you'll notice about even Arabs and Indians, listen, you will never touch their women. You will never talk to their women at all. That's why you brothers know with Arab countries, y'all go everywhere but Saudi Arabia. You're not going to Oman. You're not going to Egypt. Even in Africa, you're not going to Somalia because Somalian guys, you already know they can deal with you. Somalian brothers, even Ethiopian brothers to a certain degree, can deal with you, right? They have rules, and that's why a lot of times in Pan-Africanism, the Horn of Africa is so, I will say this, Pan-Africanism and thought, we leave a lot of times Ethiopia out, even though they're the mother of Africa in many cases. Yeah. Yes.
The Kushites, 100%. Yeah.
Ethiopia is, you can't say Africa without them, but they're left out of the conversation.
Are they?
I believe so. I'm going to tell you why. Eritrea is left out.
Are they?
Yes.
Or do they leave themselves
okay,
out?
I'm getting to that. Somalia, Djibouti. Mm-hmm. Because...
even Sudan sometimes.
Some parts of Sudan, yes. Mm-hmm. But now those 4 countries on the Horn, because they have rules of engagement that are stricter than the rest of us in Sub-Saharan Africa. Okay? So a lot of times we talk about our leaders outside of, what's his name? Selassie. That particular king was probably one of the greatest kings ever in Africa. Mm-hmm. But we leave them, we don't talk about them as much because they're so distant from us. Mm-hmm. Anywhere in the world, Ethiopians in UK, USA, Canada, you already know. You can't really talk to them that much. It might be a little bit better now, but on average, they're not going to be really dealing with you that much.
You know what it is? Yeah, it is a little bit better now. Like
a little better now.
Blackness is very become, because I think before when people used to think of blackness or think of Sub-Saharan African, right? Which yes, is a part of blackness, but the beauty of blackness is we have so many ethnic groups. Mm-hmm. And black is not monolithic. It doesn't look or sound or feel the same. Right. And the moment we accepted that, we're there. So when you said we leave them out, I don't think we do anymore. But some people will want to be left out with the belief of they are not black. And I think they're lost. Sorry. They are. Not all of them, but those in particular are lost. But yeah.
But no, let me tell you this. Some of the brothers in the Horn, they watch Ghana. Them brothers can build it up. Mm-hmm. Okay, they some of the most pro-black brothers is over there.
Of course,
they build.
Didn't get colonized,
and they can long-winded on the podcast. They long-winded just like we are. All right, so we know that. Mm-hmm. But what I'm trying to tell you is, those people I can say have more rules of engagement for their societies. And as blacks, as Indians that are living here, their rules of engagement, you're never, for the most part, there's prices to pay. If you're in South Africa, you're Indian, and you're dealing with a black man, it's a price for that.
Because I think, oh shit, I'm about to quote Dr. Umar, but yes.
Oh my God. He's coming to Uganda in July.
Oh my God, sorry.
You know what? I love Dr. Umar. I'm a very big critic of Dr. Umar.
Are you a
brother?
critic?
I would, yes, all the time. I would love you on our, he got to come to our podcast.
No, he does have to come. He's a critic, but Dr. Umar,
No, I'm not going to talk to him about his personal issues though, if he come here.
I love Dr. Umar.
Because he's my brother.
Just because.
But I do deal with him though.
Anything pro-black, I make fun of.
He's the king. When it comes to breaking things down, Umar articulates things in ways that nobody else can do.
He said a thing about sort of the Mexicans and the Asians in the US, right? And they're sort of building sort of an economic hub around one another.
Yes.
So he spoke about certain families. So when you do look at Asians in the West, typically not all, but some, they live in the same house for years, right? You'll have 3 generations in one house, but they know why they're doing it. So they're pooling their resources in one sort of place, and they own that house, but they all live there. But then after 10 years, everyone can go off and something again that we as Black people would benefit from. So, like I said before, both things can be true. Yes, we can do that. But when we're addressing colonial and imperial tactics, divide and conquer was only ever used on us.
Oh yeah,
and that is the core
well, they used it
reason
on they used it on everybody else, but it affected us the most.
No, they didn't, because
they didn't use it on Indians. Pakistan and India was one country.
Okay, yeah, no, in that sense, yeah, in essence, right. But they did that in sense of separating into countries, right? But then they came into us and told us countries are not enough. But even in tribes, think about even what I don't even want to touch on this because it's genuinely such a sick thing that happened, but. For example, what happened in Rwanda, the source of that is white anti-Blackness. And that was crazy. Do you see what I mean? But the fact that you come into a people and you tell them that you are the favored and you are not. And then you walk away and you let them fight amongst themselves. That was like, do you see like the extent of like white bullshit? Do you know what I mean? Like, so we can't... we can look at that and aspire to it.
Yes.
I think that's what we should be doing now because we know that's the tactic, right? So now it's like, that's why I say anything to me that's anti-Black, I'm not involved because I know that anti-Blackness is white supremacy. It's like agency of white supremacy. So like anything for me that's pro-Black, even if it's not the best of pro-Blackness, I will still work and push for that because I know that anything anti-Black is pro-white supremacy. So that's my thing. So I look at the Asians and I look at the Mexicans and all of those communities and I respect it and I admire it and I'm not going to knock them for it. Continue to do that because they're not white and keep fighting against the colonizer. But us as a people should work towards that whilst also understanding that, like I said before, like unlearning is the hardest. So we have to unlearn to look at each other as the enemy and to look at each other as the man that's going to bring the other one down. If we don't do that, we're just stuck.
Yeah, no. Those are good points. And I just want to say higher rules of engagement when you have like, and I'm not trying to say that Blacks don't have no standards. I'm not saying that, but I lived in Poland and I learned a lot from living in Poland. And Polish people, one thing they will never do is let you come in there and do shit. Never. At all. Now, if they get discriminated against in the United States, they're going to say you discriminated against me. In the UK, I've heard that. But coming to Poland, I went to medical school there. I got my break there. I love the country. Had some problems in some instances there, but for the most part, they didn't mess with me, right? But Polish people really made me become more
pro-Black.
Oh my God.
Because they're very pro them, yeah. No, I get it.
And I said, wow.
But can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So when Asian people are pro-Asian and Mexicans are pro-Mexican, it's pro this. But I want to say this, and then I think I can close on this. But to shake the table a bit.
Shake it.
We had a leader who was very pro-Black.
Idi Amin!
To the point where he said, anyone that is not of here must leave. And how did the white man portray him? He was a cannibalist. He was a madman. And I'm not saying he was perfect.
Right.
When you talk to our parents and the shit they went through, 100%, like he was a little bit tapped, but let's not 100% villainize him because there were things that he put in place.
Right.
Which has given Uganda the saving grace over maybe, let's say, Kenya, to where we at least own some of this shit.
Yep.
So again, it's like, oh, let's do all these things that everybody else is doing. But when we do it, it's a problem when we do it.
Yeah.
But it's okay when everybody else does it. Because that's essentially what he was trying to do. He was trying to give Ugandans ownership and priority and territory over what was theirs.
And not only that, he gave African Americans in the 70s Ugandan citizenship. People don't know that.
And he made white people carry him on their backs.
I mean, Idi Amin, he was was a brother that, you know, like I said, he had a lot of controversy. I don't think I know any Indian person that likes Idi Amin or Asian person.
Of course not,
right?
because they were oppressed, and I don't expect them to. And again, both think I can understand their plight, but whilst also understanding what he was trying to do, because we can villainize him, but he was the first person to enlist a woman into a managerial position in Uganda.
He talked about that, yes. And he predicted the first black president before anybody else did. So what I would say is this, you know, again, being pro-black doesn't mean you hate anybody else. But again, the whole thing that I see with these people, I saw it with the Polish living there, I saw it with Ukrainian living there, I saw it with Turkish men even in Ukraine. Everybody is pro themselves.
As we should
be. And so it don't mean I'm just like, for me as a black YouTuber, people say you don't have a lot of collaborations with the other side. There is one pro-black person that's here in Uganda. That's a Jewish person that's been here for like 15 years. I think it'd be an interesting podcast to have him on. But for the most part, and he feels like me, which is crazy, right? The guy is like, the guy knows a lot of, he's from Oakland, which is interesting. But for the most part, we have to develop ourselves. It's nobody's job. Every now and again, you get somebody that's a foreigner, like you had in South Africa. What's the guy that was there? I forgot the guy's name, but he was in the ANC. Kosovo, I think his name, Kosovo. Yes, he died, right? You're not going to have too many people like him who's a lawyer who's going to just, turn his back. Kosovo, yeah? Very, very rare do you have that. It's your job to fix your people. It's our job.
100%.
Yeah, and in the diaspora, we're trying to make Ugandan diaspora. Shout out to Sister Tina, who's helping with some of the things, the night markets and things, trying to make the diaspora come to life.
At Casa de Roy, Philly Avenue.
Yes, we know it's our job to make our things happen. Shout out to his brother Chef Gilbert, who's over there mad right now, but he's my brother.
We're at Casa
hope you enjoyed the podcast. Me and Tina can build all night long.
We actually do be talking like this.
Building up. And then we're looking forward to we have events coming, guys.
We do.
Podcast things coming, guys. We really want to build our diaspora and make Uganda.
Come to Uganda. It's so fun. The clubs, they never close. Ever. They don't. Why are you acting like I'm crazy? They don't close.
Great country.
Beautiful greenery.
There's some issues in every country, but like I said, Uganda is a very great place. And we want the diaspora we're going to try to make life easier for you as we get to know things in a transparent way and things like that. So if we know it, we'll tell you. If we don't know it, we won't tell you. So, all right, guys, we're out. Peace.